Welcome to today's story, Mystic Pizza and Second Chances, generated by StoryWave.ai, March 2024. Please tap that like button, share, and subscribe for more. Chapter 1: The Secret Ingredient. In the heart of a bustling metropolis where sorcery was as common as pigeons in a park, there stood a quaint pizzeria known to the locals as Crust Magic. The owner, a slim man named Charlie Crust, with a mischievous glint in his hazel eyes and a goatee framing his lips, was juggling dough beneath the warm glow of enchanted lights. His left hand bore a burn mark, a memento from his early days of oven spells gone awry. Around his neck hung a mystical amulet, shimmering with an otherworldly aura, as if it held secrets of its own. On an ordinary day, turned extraordinary, Charlie concocted a tale that would forever alter the trajectory of his quiet life. With a flourish of his hands and a pinch of theatrics, he announced to a small gathering of customers, "What makes my pizzas truly transcendental is the secret ingredient, a rare spice kissed by the light of a blue moon." Whispers of Charlie's claim swept through the city like a gust of wind, tickling the ears of every man, woman, and child. Soon a throng of curious patrons flocked to his doorstep, eager to taste the magic that was promised. Charlie, charming but nervous, found himself ensnared by his own web of fabrications, his establishment now a bubbling cauldron of excitement and expectation. Among the newcomers was Bella Pepperoni, an athletic figure with flame-red hair and piercing green eyes, standing with the confidence of someone who knew her way around a kitchen. Her wrist bore the tattoo of a basil leaf, a mark of her dedication to the craft. Her pizzeria, Pepperoni's Enchanted Eats, was a stone's throw away, and the sudden buzz around Crust Magic had caught her fiery attention. Bella sauntered in, the bell above the door announcing her arrival with a gentle jingle. The air was thick with the aroma of baking dough and bubbling cheese. "So, Charlie," she began, her melodic voice cutting through the din of the crowded space, "what's this I hear about a secret ingredient that's got the whole town chattering?" Charlie, caught off guard by her sudden interest, juggled his words as deftly as he did his pizza dough. "Ah, Bella, it's just a little something I stumbled upon during my travels. Adds a touch of enchantment to the palate, you could say." Bella leaned against the counter, her eyes scanning the pizzeria that seemed to have transformed overnight from a humble eatery to the epicenter of culinary mystery. "Is that so?" she mused, her gaze lingering on the buzz of activity around them. "Well, I must admit, you've piqued my curiosity, and perhaps not just about the pizza." Charlie felt a flutter in his chest, though he dared not let it show. Instead, he focused on the task at hand, maintaining his ruse. As the day unfolded, the pizzeria found itself host to a series of odd occurrences. A pizza levitated off a table, carried by an unseen force. A calzone sang arias when bitten into, and a batch of mozzarella turned a vibrant shade of pink, much to the delight of the children. With each magical mishap, Charlie's legend grew, and so did the pressure to deliver on the impossible expectations he had set. He wondered how long he could keep up the act before his tall tale crumbled like overcooked crust. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the cobblestone streets, Charlie and Bella found themselves alone amidst the chaos of a day winding down. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. It was the beginning of something new, a connection forged in the fires of fabrication and the hope for second chances. But as the last customer left, the weight of Charlie's deception settled on his shoulders like a cloak. He knew that redemption was not a dish served hot or cold, but one that required the raw ingredients of truth and integrity. And as for his secret ingredient, perhaps it was time for it to reveal its true nature. Chapter 2: Pie in the Sky. Charlie Crust's Pizzeria was a cauldron of chaos, with every new dish served sparking a fresh wave of enchantments that danced through the cobblestone streets of the city. Crust Magic had become a spectacle, the center of a culinary carnival that no one could have predicted. The air buzzed with anticipation, and the scent of tomato sauce mingled with mystery. On one peculiar afternoon, a family of 4 sat at a checkered tablecloth, their eyes wide with a mix of delight and trepidation. As they each took a bite of the pizza Charlie had whimsically named Levitation Sensation, they found themselves gently lifting from their seats, their feet dangling as they giggled and kicked in midair. "Would you look at that, Ma?" exclaimed a young boy, his voice filled with wonder. "We're floating, just like those comic book heroes." Meanwhile, across the room, a couple shared a calzone that purportedly could unveil snippets of the future. With each mouthful, they whispered excitedly about the visions that flickered before their eyes, from mundane moments to glimpses of potential prosperity. At a corner table, a group of teenagers stared in astonishment at an empty plate, their invisible lasagna having vanished before their very eyes, leaving only the tantalizing aroma and the perplexing sensation of cheese and pasta melting on their tongues. The city was abuzz, and crust magic was its humming heart. Yet, not all were amused by the pandemonium. Bella Pepperoni, her arms crossed as she observed the spectacle, knew that behind the curtain of wonder lay a thread of deception. Her sharp instincts told her something was amiss, and she was determined to uncover the truth. "Charlie," Bella called out as she approached the counter, brushing a lock of her red hair behind her ear. "We need to talk." Charlie, his back turned, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He faced her, his charm momentarily faltering under her scrutinizing gaze. "Sure, Bella. What's on your mind?" "It's about these magical meals," she said, her voice steady but laced with suspicion. "They're causing quite the stir, aren't they? But I can't help wondering, what's the real price of this magic?" Charlie swallowed hard, the reality of his fabrications bearing down on him. He searched Bella's face for a sign of the connection they had shared, but found only the determined look of a rival seeking answers. "Listen, Bella," Charlie began, his words careful and measured. "I know things have gotten a little out of hand, but isn't it bringing joy to the people? Isn't that worth something?" Bella sighed, her staunchness softening as she took in the laughter and excitement around them. "Joy is one thing, Charlie, but at what cost? What happens when the magic fades, or worse, turns sour?" Charlie knew she was right. The enchantments were unpredictable, and the city was on the brink of mayhem. He needed to find a way to stem the tide of magic before it swept them all away. But first, he had to face the truth with Bella and hope that their budding romance could weather the storm of revelation. "This may have started with a little white lie, Bella, but I promise you, I'll make it right," Charlie said, his staunchness firming. "I'll find a way to fix this, to earn back the trust of the city, and, hopefully, yours too." Bella's expression softened, and for a moment the chaos around them seemed to fade into the background. The truth had been a bitter pill, but in Charlie's earnest eyes, she saw the glimmer of redemption. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but perhaps, just perhaps, they could navigate it together, one step at a time. Chapter 3: Topping the Truth. The sun perched high above Spellbound City, its rays shimmering off the cobblestone streets like flecks of gold. But beneath the city's gleaming facade, a storm was brewing, one concocted from a blend of magic and mistruths that threatened to unravel the fabric of the community. At the heart of the turmoil stood Charlie, his pizzeria now the epicenter of an impending magical disaster. The air was thick with the scent of tomato sauce and fear, as the townsfolk whispered about the latest oddity to come out of crust magic, a pizza dough monster that had begun to roam the streets, growing with each passing minute. Inside the bustling establishment, Charlie wiped his brow with a floured forearm, his usual charm replaced by a look of grim determination. Bella, her athletic frame poised for action, stood by his side, her basil leaf tattoo a distinct separation against her flour-dusted skin. "Charlie, we can't keep dodging the truth like this," Bella asserted, her melodic voice firm. "We've got to face the doughy beast head-on and put an end to this madness." Charlie nodded, his goatee a stark reminder of his once carefree demeanor. "I know, Bella. I never meant for things to get this out of hand. But together, I think we can whip up a plan to save the city." The duo set to work, their hands moving in unison as they crafted a concoction they hoped would tame the yeasty Goliath that loomed outside. They combined ingredients with precision, the dance of their movements a silent testament to the bond forming between them, one forged in the fires of adversity. Meanwhile, the streets were abuzz with panic as the dough monster rolled and roared, its crusty tendrils reaching out to ensnare lampposts and benches, leaving a trail of chaos in its wake. The citizens looked on in horror, their initial delight at the magical pizzas now a distant memory replaced by fear. Back at the pizzeria, Charlie and Bella had completed their culinary spell, a pizza adorned with a medley of mystical toppings that glowed with a faint, otherworldly light. "This is it," Charlie declared, his voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. "If my hunch is correct, this special pie should satisfy the monster's hunger and put an end to the pandemonium." Bella nodded, her green eyes reflecting the glow of the enchanted pizza. "Let's do this, Charlie, for Spellbound City." With the fate of the city teetering on the edge of disaster, the two pizzaiolos emerged from crust magic, the enchanted pizza held high like a shield. The dough monster loomed before them, its massive bulk blotting out the sun, a behemoth born of Charlie's once small fib. "All right, you overgrown pastry," Charlie called out, his voice steady despite the trembling of his hands. "Time to feast on something that'll truly hit the spot." With a heave, Charlie launched the pizza into the maw of the beast, the toppings sparkling as they sailed through the air. The monster paused, its cavernous mouth enveloping the pie in one gulp. For a moment, all was still. Then, as if satisfied by the offering, the monster began to shrink, its girth receding with every passing second until it was no more than a harmless lump of dough on the ground, its magic spent. The city erupted in cheers, relief washing over the crowd like a cleansing rain. Charlie and Bella exchanged a look, a mix of triumph and exhaustion etched on their faces. "We did it," Bella murmured, a smile spreading across her face. Charlie, the weight of his deceit lifted, smiled back. "We did. But now comes the hard part, making amends for the trouble I've caused." The road to redemption stretched out before him, long and uncertain, but for the first time, Charlie felt ready to walk it, with Bella by his side and the truth as his guide. Chapter 4: A Slice of Honesty. Sunlight spilled onto the cobblestone streets of Spellbound City, casting long shadows behind the colorful throng gathered in the square. At the center of the crowd, outside the now famous crust magic, stood Charlie, his usual pizzaiolo apron absent, replaced by a sincere expression that drew the attention of every onlooker. "Friends and fellow pizza aficionados," Charlie began, his voice projecting over the murmurs of the crowd, "I've called you here for a reason as important as dough to a crust." Bella stood by the pizzeria, her arms folded, an air of anticipation visible in the set of her shoulders. Her eyes were fixed on Charlie, a mix of curiosity and hope flickering within them. "You've all seen the magic that's come out of my kitchen," Charlie continued, his hands gesturing towards the now quiet establishment. "But it's time for me to be as transparent as the finest mozzarella." The crowd leaned in, their collective breath held in suspense. Charlie took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment, the turning point of his tale. "The truth is, there ain't no secret ingredient from a blue moon or enchanted spice," he confessed, his words clear and unwavering. "I spun a yarn, a tall tale, a downright fib, and for that, I'm sorry, truly." A ripple of surprise coursed through the crowd, a wave of disbelief that such magic could have been born from a lie. Yet, as they looked upon Charlie's earnest face, they saw not a trickster, but a man bearing his soul in search of forgiveness. Bella uncrossed her arms, a small smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "And what of the pizzas that floated and sang? The calzones that glimpsed the future?" she called out, her voice playful yet poignant. Charlie met her gaze, a spark of mischief returning to his eyes. "Let's just say that sometimes the magic of a good pizza is in the belief it inspires. But from here on out, no more tricks, just good, honest cooking." The crowd murmured among themselves, the initial shock giving way to contemplation. It was then that Charlie unveiled his grand gesture, a massive banquet of pizzas, calzones, and lasagnas, each more deliciously ordinary than the last, free for all to enjoy. "Let's mend the rift with a feast," Charlie proclaimed, gesturing toward the tables laden with food. "A celebration of community, of second chances, and the simple joy of a slice shared among friends." As the citizens of Spellbound City indulged in the feast, the air filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. The chaos of the past seemed to dissolve with each bite of Charlie's honest creations. Later, as the square emptied and the stars began to twinkle above, Bella approached Charlie, her green eyes shining in the twilight. "Charlie, I've seen you at your worst, and now at your best," she said, her voice soft but clear. "And I think it's about time we put our talents together. What do you say to a partnership? Crust magic and Pepperoni's enchanted eats as one." Charlie's heart swelled, a warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the ovens behind him. "Bella, there's nothing I'd like more," he replied, his smile genuine. And so, as Spellbound City settled into the night, Charlie and Bella shook hands, their pizzerias and their lives intertwined. The redemption that Charlie had sought was found not in grandiose gestures or magical ingredients, but in the simple act of coming clean and the strength of a promise kept. Spellbound City may have lost a little magic that day, but it gained something far more valuable, a tale of honesty, forgiveness, and the start of a delicious new chapter. The end. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed Mystic Pizza and Second Chances. Please smash that like button, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily storytelling adventures.